preview webinar. I'm Christopher Avery, and welcome to How to Skyrocket Performance / Execution Times and Break Through Any Problem. So, where are people on this call attending from? Obviously, lots of people will want to get the recording and won't be on this call, or will be on our call Thursday, and you're welcome to come back then too. But the majority of people who are going to be on this webinar are from the Americas, which is where I would say 60, maybe 70% of our members are located. Then we've got a very strong membership in Europe and a little bit in South Africa. And this covers the area that we are optimized for our web meetings and web calls. Currently, we schedule calls to reach pretty much from U.S. Pacific time zone, California, into Northern Europe, Scandinavian countries. We also are attracting people from parts of Australia, New Zealand, and Asia, for which we are not time optimized, but we have had some members participate in the middle of the night for them, and boy, I appreciate that. I would love to know, just for fun, where you are. And so you should see a poll going up on the screen right now. And there you go. So I only had 5 choices, so I put in the Americas, Europe, South Africa, Australia, Asia, and other. We are at 79%. Come on, let's hit 85%, and I'll close the poll. Who hasn't voted yet? One more? 2 more? All right. So there we go. Poll closed. Share results. We are 67% in the Americas and 33% Europe for this call today. Awesome. Thank you very much. So let's move along. I forgot Hawaii. We actually have a member in Hawaii, so that's fun. So if you're a CEO, a team leader, a coach, an individual contributor looking to increase effectiveness, not by 10 or 15%, but by 200 or 300 or 500 or 1,000%, then this could be for you. Find out why problems persist, projects stall, collaborations fail, and yes, you can end the total frustration blues for good. How? By mastering the only proven how-to approach for taking and teaching personal responsibility, the first principle of success in any endeavor. You can use this to skyrocket performance, enjoy phenomenal clarity of mind, amazing resourcefulness, be fully engaged in life, work, relationships, collaborate, fulfill your potential, be happy and fulfilled. So I'm going to ask you a favor. For this hour, I'm going to ask you to run an experiment for just this hour, and that is, if you're a multitasker, I'm going to ask you to stop. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing for the next hour, and if you can't, I'm going to suggest that you either pay full attention here and be fully present, or if there's something more important to be worked on or solved, that you do that and make great use of this hour. Research on multitasking turned up a couple of interesting quotes here. Multitasking is a mythical activity in which people believe they can perform 2 or more tasks simultaneously as effectively as one. And I love this quote: "It's difficult and possibly impossible to learn new information while multitasking." And this is a content-rich webinar full of new information, so I hope that you'll take heed. So if there are webinar issues today, your best source for solving those problems is GoToMeeting. Also know that we are capturing a recording, and that the recording will be available for you afterwards in case something happens here. Also, you could try and send an email to admin@christopheravery.com, and we'll try our best to be monitoring a couple of Twitter accounts, Leadership Gift and Christopher Avery. There's no Y on the end of my name on my Twitter account. I'm not going to be paying attention to these. I'm going to be paying attention to you, but I've got teammates who may be able to pay attention to these. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. My dad is my role model for working for a living, and he spent a career working for Union Carbide, inspecting quality out instead of building it in. Yes, he was a quality executive. And he tried to bring Edwards Deming, the great quality guru, into Union Carbide way back in the 40s. And Union Carbide would have nothing to do with it. So my dad spent his career until he retired in 1976, as I said, building or inspecting quality out instead of building it in. He spent 30 years of frustration and came home tired and sore and frustrated and pissed off every day from work. And when I finished college and started my career, you know, I was looking at this 30, 40-year career path, and I had my father to think of, who was successful in every outward way, but came home from work every day upset. Why? Because he worked in a place where the people there were not aligned on common goals, and a peer manager who was a plant manager would override his quality decisions, of course, and customers would get bad product, and they would call my dad, say, you don't know what you're doing. What struck me was that almost 8 years, I think, after he retired, the accident in India happened, killing thousands of people, that was caused by Union Carbide, the same company that he worked for. He felt personally responsible for that accident because he had 30 years to influence his employer on their philosophies and their value systems about how they did things, and he felt that he failed. So that influenced me a great deal. Let's fast forward a couple of years. I spent the 90s, after getting my doctorate, I spent the 90s focused on collaboration, teamwork, and partnering, and I did a lot of work in the semiconductor industry at MCC, the technology consortium in Austin, Texas, where I lived at the time. And I learned that technology commercialization works when managers, marketers, scientists, and engineers share responsibility for a goal. And we produced a lot of publications out of that work. And for the next few years, I spent a lot of time teaching software project leaders how to build teams in a reliable, repeatable way. We launched a training business, and IBM was a huge client, and we were in every lab across IBM with this workshop, and project leaders learned how to predictably build and lead teams with shared responsibility. In other words, teams where people stepped up to owning things that were larger than simply their role accountability. All of that got, I also worked in the semiconductor industry for that decade, essentially doing the same thing across businesses, building trusted partnering relationships. And that produced some wonderful publications. This is a book by my partner, Larry Browning, who's a genius professor at the University of Texas and was part of this work with me. So that decade showed me that something critical that no one else was seeing, and that is that you are responsible for the quality of your experience at work and in teams. So I wrote a book called Teamwork is an Individual Skill, and as a way of capturing what I had learned during that entire decade. And I'm honored that Fortune said in 2006, I believe now, that if you only read one book on teamwork, this is the one worth reading. I'm very honored by that. Hello, I'm Christopher Avery, and I'm pleased to be with you today. I support senior leaders and others to build cultures of responsible leadership. I do a lot of teaching around the world at conferences and meetings and universities. And the number one thing I do is nurture and serve this Leadership Gift Program community worldwide. So you may be looking for solutions to these types of problems, you want better business results. You have a culture of blame and finger pointing. Teams are hitting a wall of low empowerment and engagement, resistance, not change, difficulty relationships, defensiveness, low effectiveness, insanity. In fact, one of the primary things I hear as I consult in corporations is how much people say it's insane around here. And I say, well, how long do you want to keep that up? Or maybe you're just not as happy as you'd like to be. The cumulative result of these problems is that you're not moving forward in a way that you'd like. You're increasingly tired and frustrated, like my dad was, with people not taking ownership. Less and less fun to work. Getting tougher to maintain your own sanity. You spend a lot of time de-stressing, and can be nearly impossible to get your team off the dime and show any momentum. Maybe you're sick and tired of being sick and tired in order to make a living, and you've decided that you would like a life. So, meet Judith. I checked in with Judith, I don't know, 8 or 9 months after she joined the Leadership Gift Program, and I was astonished when she casually said to me on the phone, over the last 30 years, 350 people in 9 countries have become way more productive than we ever imagined they could be. Our agile processes are successful primarily because everyone takes ownership by understanding and practicing the responsibility process, and today we produce twice the software with half the head count. Amazing. Let me give you the case of a Fortune 300 company, DTE Energy, in Detroit. Problem: pending breakup of an 800-person IT organization, massive layoffs, shipping jobs offshore. The solution: the CIO asked her top 40 managers to work with her to study and adopt the responsibility process. The results: a culture of responsibility developed very rapidly. They doubled productivity successively for a number of years. The CIO saved every job, and they achieved a vision of strategic enterprise IT organization. How about a small company example? Here's a small company not far from where I live here in Comfort, Texas. They were bleeding money, bad reputation, worst employer in town. The solution: the new CEO who was hired to turn it around allowed me to use the entire company as a laboratory for the responsibility process. We trained every employee, including janitors, and again, the results: a culture of responsibility developed rapidly. The company moved in a few years to operating at the top of its industry in every metric, getting margins 7 times the industry average, 7 times the industry average. And the company recently sold for about 10 times earnings. So here's the data. They paid more wages to fewer people as they increased their margins. In an industry with 2% margins, they increased it to nearly 25%. It was just under 25% when they sold the company for 10 times earnings. Many companies sell for between 1 and 2 times earnings. You have to have really high margins to sell for a multiple more than 2 times earnings. So that's a pretty good story. So again, when I say not 10 or 20%, but 100 or 200 or 500% or more, we're talking about things like these. This fellow may be on the call with us, I don't know. Take the case of Ian. Ian lives in Edinburgh, Scotland. And he says, a year ago I was struggling. I felt overwhelmed by problems and demands. I wasn't happy with the direction my job was going, and I felt my team and my management were expecting me to make all the decisions, take all the responsibility in all areas of my life. I had huge backlogs of things waiting to be done. In the last year, working with Christopher, I've worked out what matters to me and what I really want. I've cleared out, resolved, or passed on a lot of things I'm not interested in so I can focus on what I do care about. I've managed to give the team space to take responsibility and ownership for delivery, and we're about to make our release imminent. I've found time to do more things that inspire me. I published my first paper, gave my first presentation at conferences. I picked up several issues in the company that were affecting me, and I'm driving them to conclusion. I'm enjoying it all so much more. My family has noticed the difference, saying I'm much nicer to be with. They feel less worried and blamed. When my wife and I were reviewing our finances recently, she insisted membership of the Leadership Gift Program was well worth continuing. Ian Brockbank, Edinburgh, and it looks like the text went over his picture there. So, the conclusion, the leadership gift works. It works for global corporations, it works for small business, it works for individuals like you too. So why does it work? Well, it's because what we focus on is breakthrough research, less than 25 years old now, about how every human being responds to a problem and thinks about how often we're thinking about our problems or how often things go wrong. It turns out that the psychology of personal responsibility and the language of personal responsibility has to do with what you and I and everyone we know thinks, says, and does when things go wrong, big or small. So how many times a day do things go wrong in your life? And what do we have all those meetings, all those emergency meetings about at work from stuff going wrong? When things go wrong, it causes upset, anxiety, and frustration. And that's when the responsibility process kicks in. So this is the first how-to approach for understanding, teaching, and taking personal responsibility. I'm very quickly going to show it to you. You've probably been introduced to it. If you haven't, I'm going to go through this very quickly. And there are lots of other places where you can come find more information about it. The moment something goes wrong, your and my minds try to solve the problem for us by helping us cope. And the first way we cope is by pointing fingers at somebody else. Now, you've been told your whole life that you shouldn't do it. What you haven't been told is just a natural mental state, and everybody has these thoughts. It's quite predictable that this is going to be the first response when things go wrong. It doesn't matter how bright or smart or educated we are. This is an emotional response that's true for all of us. In this response, it's a mental state where we're sure of the cause and effect logic. We're in the position of effect, and the cause is that person over there. The issue with that is that the premise is that they have to change for your problem to go away, which means that you're in a position of no power. It's victimhood. And once again, we're not wrong for blaming. We're just human. It's simply not a resourceful place to be because you're sure there's nothing you can do because he or she has to change. So since it's a mental state, we can get stuck on it or we can get off of it. If we get off of blame, we land in another mental state called justify, and this is where we're sure it's a set of circumstances beyond our control that's causing our problem. Again, it's just a natural mental state. We call these islands in the mind that we land on. And if you're interested in leadership research, the scholarly research on leadership says that research on mental states is the most promising avenues of research on leadership. So leadership development puts self-awareness at the forefront, and we're promoting mental states like positiveness and strength-based and optimism and things like this. So think about the responsibility process as just a series of mental states. And mental states are very important to leadership, whether it's leading yourself or anybody. Again, it's common, it's predictable. These positions in our mind are hardwired into us. In justify, it makes it just that we have the problem, right? So I have this problem because of the weather, or because of the traffic, or because of the culture around here. It, quote, justifies it. The cause-effect equation, again, is that I'm at effect, and the cause is this set of circumstances, which are, of course, bigger and more powerful than I am, because for my world to change, for me to be happier, those circumstances have to change. And the number one justify that I hear in my client firms is that's just the way it is around here. Again, you're not wrong for doing this. Nobody's wrong for doing it. It's just not resourceful. We do it because we're human. And it's something we can stay stuck or we can get off of it since it's just a mental state. If we get off of justify, we land in shame. This is the language of I'm such a dummy, I'm such a dolt, I'm so stupid. This is just laying blame on self. A lot of people think that if we're doing this, we're taking ownership, we're taking responsibility, but it's a pseudo or a false ownership. It's just another mental state or island. The reason that it's pseudo or false is because you're not feeling free, powerful in that choice. You're actually feeling more anxious when you're beating yourself up. You're also listing all the things that's wrong with you, and as long as you're listing all the things that's wrong with you, your premise is that you lack something, and that keeps you from being as resourceful as you can be. So again, it's a position of no power, even though society tells us that if we're beating ourselves up, we're, quote, being responsible. That's why it's in green. Society here reinforces us doing this, and we've learned that that's not great for us. And again, it's not wrong. It's human. It's just not very resourceful. And again, it's a mental state that we can either stay stuck in it for a second or a minute or an hour or a day or a week or a month or a lifetime, or we can get off of it. The idea of staying stuck or getting off of these mental states is easy. If you think of somebody you know that has an ongoing agonizing problem for which they're constantly complaining about a person or about a set of circumstances, and you know that their life would be so much better if they get off of it, but they can't see that. So there's nothing wrong with them. They're operating normally. Just around that issue, they're stuck in this mental position. The same is true for you and me in a lot of places, and that's what studying the leadership gift helps us get off of very rapidly, get to a place where we can be much more resourceful. If we get off the mental state of shame, we land in obligation. The obligation mindset is the mindset of have to, don't want to. You feel trapped. You feel like you have no choice. You even say, I have no choice. It's a mindset that, again, we're rewarded for staying in situations that we don't like. We're rewarded for bucking up. We're rewarded for keeping our commitments even if we don't like them. The problem is that it's still a mental state of have to, don't want to, which means our motivation is very, very low. All we want to do is survive the trap. And again, it's a kind of a false responsibility because, yeah, you can be called a good person for toughing it out, but the truth is your mind wants to be anywhere else, doing something else, being somebody else, having something different. So our level of performance and obligation is barely adequate to get a pass. We also build up this resentment, this toxic stuff in our mind that when it builds up to a certain level, then it comes pouring out in violence or emotional abuse or depression or other things. The mental state of obligation isn't wrong. It's human. That's the thing about the responsibility process. It's very humane. It helps us understand why good, well-intended, educated, ambitious people get stuck in lives that they don't want and get stuck in situations that they don't want and don't know how to do what to do about it. So it's just not a resourceful mental state. And people say, what's wrong with obligation? That's how we manage. That's how we manage accountability. Well, now you know. This is the issue that's been the #1 issue for me since I discovered the responsibility process research, is when people perform highly, they get out of these mental states and they get to a state of responsibility. Now we know how to do it more frequently, and we know how to teach it and understand it and adopt it and practice it and master it. So what is responsibility? Responsibility is just another mental state. And it's a mental state that's available to you all the time. It's just that every time something goes wrong, it goes away, and you go to the bottom of this stack, and you have to climb your way back, and you can get stuck anywhere along the way. Responsibility is the ability to respond. It's the feeling that you're unencumbered, that you're not burdened, that you have choices, and that you are powerful and you know what to do to take action to move forward. It gives you clarity of mind and resourcefulness. I believe what's happening is that in these lower states, the logic available in the mind in these lower states is very simplistic, even stupid logic of cause and effect. Above the line, in the mental state of responsibility, it's like your complex reasoning pathways just sort of open up. It's like you have greater access to this incredible brain power, this mind that you have, and you have much more complex reasoning and logic available to you, hence the ability to respond. When in these other mental states, you don't have the ability to respond. You are extremely limited. So you feel resourceful. It's a state of want to. the premise is that I am free, I'm powerful, and I'm at choice. I mentioned the complex reasoning pathways instead of the simplistic cause-effect. And if you want to get yourself to responsibility more often, one of the easiest ways to do it is to simply recognize when you're in a position of beating yourself up, especially if you're in a position of obligation, and take your thoughts of have to and turn them into a statement of I get to go to this stupid meeting, or I get to do this dumb paperwork, or I get to pay this horrible mortgage, whatever it is that you feel trapped in commitment. And if you feel that dissonance, that cognitive dissonance, because it's not true, right, then that's the point where you perturbate your mind. Perturbation means to provoke. So principles of change say that you can't change a living system. All you can do is provoke it, right? So you can provoke your own mind by pointing out to your own mind that even though you're thinking you have to do something you don't want to do, if you actually admit that there's no shackles on your legs, nobody is pulling you to that place, you're actually locomoting yourself there under your own power, then guess what? You probably are choosing it at some level, so why not admit it? When you admit it, you provoke your mind to start to look for a new answer, a new solution. So you can say, I am going to my boss's stupid meeting because I don't yet know how to get out of it, but I'm working on it. So that's the point of turning obligation into responsibility, is instead of being certain that you're trapped, you actually call into question whether or not you really are trapped, and maybe it's just the best thing you know to do at the time, even though you'd prefer not to do it, and that starts your mind working on those complex reasoning pathways looking for a new answer. Apply that skill over and over and over and over again, and you can master responsibility. And I'll help you do it. So this is the responsibility process, and here's the issue. Is let's say every time something goes wrong, we spend equal amounts of time in all of these mental states. Well, guess what? Below responsibility, no growth occurs, no learning occurs. You're not going to solve any new problem, which means we stay stuck. So if you look around at your life and work and relationships, if you see places where growth isn't happening and you're waiting for somebody else or something else to do something about it, you might be operating from one of these mental states. There's nothing wrong with you if you are. You're profoundly human, and this responsibility process works amazingly well and very predictable. So if we spend equal amounts of time in each of these states around any problem, then what if we could shift that to getting to the top of this chart 10% faster, or 15% faster, or 20% faster, or 25 or 30 or 40 or 50% faster? Well, that's what we can do in the Leadership Gift Program and the work that we do in mastering responsibility. So the little line here says that you get to keep the problem unless you get above the line, because you're not really solving it. Below the line, we talk about our problems. Above the line, we address them. So if you spend a lot of time talking about problems, good indication you're probably in one of these mental states around that particular problem. All right, so this is the most important information I know and have to share, and I've devoted my life and career to it. I had to create a market in order to make a living doing this, but I'm ecstatic to be able to share it with you and the world. And my purpose in life is to bring this to the attention of the world, because the research is so new. It's only a few decades old. And my mission at PartnerWorks is to get this into leadership and to develop leaders and coaches around the world as rapidly as possible to help build this community. So, you know, experts since Socrates have said taking 100% responsibility is the first key to success in any endeavor. But until now, none of them have said how to do it. They've only said that you should, which means they make it a moral or ethical imperative to take responsibility. Well, now we know that it doesn't necessarily have to be a moral or ethical thing. it's a framework for learning. It's a framework for problem solving. It's a framework for growth. And what we have is the first how-to approach for doing it. In the Leadership Gift Program, you're going to work with us to learn to apply 3 keys to responsibility. These keys are mental keys. These are mental muscles that you already have that we will help you exercise and develop to where they will become the most profound keys in your life. The keys are intention, awareness, and confront. Intention means that you have free will and you get to direct yourself in any direction. We start practicing intention by intending to get ourselves to responsibility around any problem, any upset, any frustration in our life. This is very important. We also realize we have lots of counter-intentions which are hidden. We're blind to them. We don't see them. And they cause much of our fear and our lack of clarity and our confusion, and they also stop us from reaching our goals. So we identify what those are and figure out how to make them visible to us so we can choose to keep them or get rid of them. Awareness, the second key. Remember I said the #1 approach to leadership development for the last probably 60 or 70 years of the whole leadership development industry is developing self-awareness. It's a huge leverage for performance at anything is you're aware of consciousness and your ability to focus and to attend and to be aware of yourself and your thoughts and your feelings and what's going on around you. We practice awareness of the mental states, lay, blame, justify, shame, obligation, and responsibility, and knowing where we are, because only if we know where we are can we choose whether to stay there or to get off of that mental state. And confront, which doesn't mean to be aggressive to somebody else. That's one definition. We use a different definition of confront, which is the ability to face. So what that means is that humans have this comfort zone. We like to stay in it, but everything we want really is outside the comfort zone, which means that we have to face the edges of our comfort zone. We have to be able to look in the mirror and face ourselves, face our fears, confront our counter-intentions in order to grow. So these 3 keys are the second major component of the Leadership Gift Program. The responsibility process is the first, but once you understand the natural mental process, then everybody wants to know, well, what do I do about it? Well, here's what you do about it. You learn to practice these 3 keys, and they're all mental keys. They're already available to you. We help you build this muscle. So our promise, as proven by members, is that if we combine the responsibility process with the 3 keys to responsibility, you will experience ever-increasing freedom, power, and choice. You're also going to learn in the Leadership Gift Program about the anatomy of a problem. So this will make you understand more about anxiety and stress than most coaches, counselors, psychologists, and psychiatrists in the world. The anatomy of a problem is that you have a goal that you're trying to move towards, and then you get stuck. And you get stuck because there's usually some counter goal, something in your way, something competing with the goal. And until you resolve that, you're not going to be able to move the goal forward. But when you do resolve it, you move like crazy. So hopefully I've got some members of the Leadership Gift Program who are on the phone here, and I'm going to give you a chance to hear from them in just a minute. I think, Mike, I'm going to call on you pretty soon. We're also going to learn to make the distinction between role accountability, which is how agreements and commitments and relationships function, and personal responsibility, which is an internal feeling of ownership. You're going to learn that personal responsibility always trumps role accountability. What I mean by that is you can do all of the assigning of accountability you want, but until somebody steps up and takes ownership, nothing's going to happen. So we can drive accountability systems into an organization, but if there's no personal responsibility there, what you're really doing is driving responsibility out and driving in fear. I focus instead on bringing personal responsibility into leadership and culture, and when you do that, accountability is easy, because if people say yes, they own it, and that's cool. Another model that you're going to come to love is the power or control process model. I'm not going to go into this now, but essentially this is a different view of the responsibility model that says that in all those positions below the line, we're actually spinning on a system dynamic of control, evaluation, advice, and compliance, which is a knee-jerk response but never actually solves the problem. And above the line is where we actually are gaining insights and ahas and building trust in ourselves, and that's where true power comes from. So listen, you can grow or cope, you can learn or defend, you can change or resist. You can look at this from a lean view of above the line is value, below the line is waste, or from agile, above the line is agility, below the line being stilted or stiff or rigid. You can be above the line happy or below the line resigned. This explains so much about how we operate as human beings. So why does the Leadership Gift Program work when other systems fail? Hopefully what I've shown you is that we're not giving you a group of to-dos or a step-by-step process that if you execute these things, you'll be a better leader. Instead, you're being offered an internal guidance system that's in every human being. That what that does when you start learning how to use that, it gives you a magic magnifying glass to always see what's really going on in yourself and in others. And when you can do that, you can make appropriate choices about where to engage in your time and attention. And that gives you a lever for resourceful action and a constant tuning for growth. Other systems, other leadership development programs, and other types of programs are full of rules, shoulds and shouldn'ts, and right and wrong. And you know, this will only work if everybody has the same training. And you know, here's some tips and tricks for controlling people. We don't go there. We simply say, look, here's your mind on anxiety and upset and stress. And do you want to stay in coping mechanisms, or do you want to grow? And then you can apply that over and over and over again. It's really in our program is where we help you make those distinctions and do that. So let me tell you how you can get involved. For top leaders, we essentially have a corporate consulting business, and corporate change programs are going to cost many $100,000s a year for many years. And I love that work with large corporations, and we're doing a lot of good. For owners, executives, we have private mentoring. This is for very busy people who are looking for personalized service to help them blast through their stuck points and master this. And that's a fairly significant investment, not available to most individuals. So the Leadership Gift Program was an experiment we started with now 5 years ago about how can we make this available to anybody, anywhere, and at extremely affordable cost. So if you struggle with these kinds of issues that we've been talking about, and you'd like to have the help of me and a worldwide community of people now who are able to teach and coach and mentor this, to tune your mind to blast through problems, then our membership plans start at under $1,000, $1,000 US per year. So I'm inviting you to join the Leadership Gift Program 2015 today. You and I are going to walk through 17 weeks of deep growth through a 90-minute call on every Friday starting October 24th and going into February. So what I do is I walk you through the core modules to make sure that you have a full understanding of all the core material, very powerful material, no fluff, just making sure you understand the responsibility process, the keys, the anatomy of a problem, the power control process. 4 times a month, we have touch points that I host, and those are Q&A calls where they're member-driven. You come on the call or you submit your question in advance, and we spend the entire time Q&A calls answering your questions about this material. And then there's another call called Application Mastery. And Application Mastery is where we really apply it, and the way we apply it is by helping you blast through your frustrations, your upsets, your stuck points, which is where we get newfound clarity. Gold members will tell you the application mastery is where it's at, and everything else in here is just to get ready for application mastery. We have a growing worldwide community of people that are solving problems together, doing projects together, even employing one another. And we have an accreditation program for people that really want to go far with this. Our community is becoming a force for positive change in just a few short years worldwide. Here's our calendar. I said we start October 24th. All you have to remember is every Friday except for Christmas week into February. And all of this is recorded and transcribed in case you can't attend one live. So what are the results? Mike, I think I'm going to ask you to speak to your results here. Generally what happens, the way results accrue, is the first thing that happens is your awareness starts to go through the roof. And when that happens, your learning accelerates. The pace at which you can learn to deal with life, to function as a human being, just starts to take off. When that takes off, you see real options and choices around you that you couldn't see before. And I don't mean overwhelming options and choices. I mean, wow, I really could have that, or I could do that. And when you have those choices, anxiety goes down. I will tell you, after studying this for 23, 24 years, I have a pretty low stress existence. When that happens, you are more free to be who you are. You can be authentically you in all situations, and that's where true power comes from. So, Mike, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. So everybody meet Mike Kaufman, who joined the Leadership Gift Program about a year ago. Is that right?
Yep, 1 year.
Great. And Mike is Canadian. You live in Ontario?
Correct.
Great. And we have quite a Canadian contingent. And Mike, would you just share what the last year has been like for you?
Sure. So I originally joined this because I'm a manager for a software company. I'm a software QA manager. I lead a team of technical engineers, and I was looking for ways to better my own leadership skills as well as, increase the effectiveness of my overall team. And there's a lot of material in here that made me believe that the leadership gift would help me with that. And within the first, I think even within the first module, maybe even the first two, I started realizing that a lot of this material is around myself, not my team. And in going through the whole program, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about how I approached problems. I learned a lot about my default reaction to a lot of issues and problems that were affecting me, not just at work, but also at home and in my life and everywhere. And after the 8 core modules, I think I stopped you, Christopher, and I said, okay, well, where do we go from here? Because I was so invested in this. I'm like, okay, I see value. I see myself learning this, and so what do I do from here? And I became an accredited practitioner shortly thereafter, and I've been continuing to join the Q&A and the application mastery calls. And it's been a year, and I think I've seen tremendous growth in me personally. And coming back to the work situation, I distinctly remember, and Christopher, you might remember this too, there was a situation just a few short months ago at work where I was terribly upset over it, and I came on to a call and I said that I was up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because my mind was just racing on it, and I couldn't find my way out of it. I was just so consumed by this issue, and I brought it to the call, and it was a very, very powerful call, and it really helped me to see the situation. The community of practice really helped me to work through my issue as well as the issue at work. And by the end of the call, as it says here in the slide, my anxiety was down, but measurably down. And I realized that I had, choice in the situation, choice in how I approach the situation, and I went back to work the next day and with a much clearer head, and I was able to work through the problem much more effectively.
Thank you so much, Mike, and congratulations, by the way. Um, so, would you say that relative to a year ago, you are happier, more fulfilled?
Absolutely, in all aspects, work
Yeah.
and life.
Are you more resourceful, higher performing?
Yes, I can see uh, the choices. It's a common word, but it's a very powerful word like that. I now see so many other choices, and by seeing the choices and taking those choices, I am much more resourceful in identifying those choices. And I'm free, powerful on that choice when I make the choice.
Absolutely. So we commonly say to each other in the Leadership Gift Program when we say, how are you? We all make up responses. Mine is, I'm free, powerful in that choice, thank you. How are you? Our friend Ashley says better and better, and there's all kinds of things. And why do I say it? I say it to remind myself because, sometimes I'm in blame and justifying shame and obligation. And when somebody says, Christopher, how are you? And my response is, oh, yeah, I can be free, powerful in that choice if I choose to. Responsibility is just a mental state. So, Mike, thanks so much. If people have questions for you, can they submit them to me, and I'll give them to you, and you can respond?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. So, folks, I'm going to offer you another poll, and this poll is what I was able to list 5 benefits. So these are some of the 5 specific benefits that people talk about. Would you tell me which ones you are most interested in? Which one? You can only choose one. So I'm interested in which one you're most interested in. If you could only have one of these, let's say one of them could deliver all the rest. Which one would it be? We're at 30%. Come on, let's go. How about getting up there to, if there's 50%, 60%, 64, who'll get us to 80%? 66, 68, I know it's hard to choose, isn't it? 72, just a couple of more. We've got a tie between happiness, fulfillment, and engagement. They go together, don't they? 76, just a couple of more. All right, I'm going to close the poll there. So the results are, we've got the tie in happiness, fulfillment, and engagement, followed by clarity of mind, and then resourcefulness and lower stress. Thank you. All of those are available to you, and I guarantee you that in the Leadership Gift Program you will be a profoundly different human being in just 2 or 3 months, and continue to enjoy it more and more. So listen, don't make this mistake that's made by thousands or tens of thousands of people worldwide. Don't mistake knowing about the leadership gift from being on the path to mastery. Why do we call it the leadership gift? We call it the leadership gift because everybody is born with, am I not showing my screen? Uh-oh. I must have, oh, sorry, I didn't hide the poll results. There we go. So don't make the mistake of knowing about the leadership gift versus being on the path to mastery. Why do I call it the leadership gift? I call it the leadership gift because everybody is born with the responsibility process inside of them. It's hardwired. It's like Windows. You came with it installed. But most people never know they have it, never know how in charge of their life it is, and they never know how to practice it and master it. But now with the understanding of the responsibility process, we can, and we know how to teach it, and we know how to practice it, and we even know how to move towards mastery. And when you master responsibility, you master your life. So the leadership gift is, it was given to you at birth, and it's yours to put to use. My job is to help you master it as rapidly as possible. Most people get introduced to the responsibility process. They think it's a cool thing, and then the first time they get stuck in a situation that they don't know how to overcome, then they remain stuck, because what happens is that when you're in blame, you can't see responsibility. When you're really in justify, you can't see responsibility. And so it's the idea of getting practice and getting the community to support you in figuring out how to break through these things. So the Leadership Gift Program puts you on the fastest path to mastery and keeps you there, and it's guaranteed, and I'll show you the guarantee here in a minute. So we're opening the Leadership Gift Program 2015 to a few new members. To join, go to christopheravy.com/skyrocket. Jot down that address so that you can go there soon. It's going to be on a number of slides here. If you want to just remember Skyrocket, you can go to my website, christopheravy.com, and then add Skyrocket to the end of the URL. On that page, there's more detail than I've given you here. So read about it in detail. Lots of member stories there. Select your membership plan. Enter your payment information. And stay with it, right? After you enter your payment information, don't walk away feeling satisfied. Stay with your computer, because your browser's then going to load the Leadership Gift Program registration page where you choose a username and password, and be ready to get started. Then if you want to walk away and have dinner or celebrate joining, would be a good time. Here's our guarantee. We are so sure that this program will help you improve productivity and effectiveness in your work and personal life that we're offering an unconditional, no question asked, money-back guarantee for 90 days. Just contact us, no questions asked, give it a try. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Remember, we've got an accreditation program that's amazing. Most people who finish the core modules are able to become recognized as the Leadership Gift Practitioner. And then in another year or so of fairly solid practice, you can be a coach. And the Mentor and Master are going to take a little bit longer. It took me 20 years. So I'll work on shortening it for you. So let's talk about the cost. If you spent $1,000 for a 2-day leadership workshop, you'd have $125 per contact hour, plus travel costs, plus the time. If you invested the same $1,000 in the Leadership Gift Program, you would get all of the core material. You get practice and exercise as simply living your life and leading your life, no travel or commuting. So it's more like $100 per content hour for us. But there's all this other stuff besides that 10 content hours. There's 130 hours of recorded Q&A calls that are tagged that members talk about working through those all the way back to 2009 when we started, because they're so full of great distinctions. We've got 8 special topic modules. Again, no traffic or commuting. You do this where you are, anywhere in the world. And so now we're getting down to maybe $6 per content hour. But why focus on the cost? Why not results, right? You're going to continue to have upsets and problems. You're human, right? Do you prefer to cope or to grow? So as I said, your life will be very different in 3 months. So if you're ready to skyrocket, the next 100 applicants, I think it's 150, I'm wrong, we're open to 150, can get in as platinum, gold, silver, or bronze, not for the usual list price of $18.97, $9.97 for gold, $8.97 for silver, $79.97 for bronze, but platinum for $9.97, gold for $5.97, silver for $5.47, or bronze for $4.97. I will tell you that 95% join as a gold member. Why? Because it gets you the application mastery, and that's the reason to go through the core modules, is so that you can do application mastery with us. That's where mastery happens. So we have a membership plan for every budget. Let me walk you through this very quickly. I know we're at the top of our hour. The bronze plan gets you no access to anything live. This is for people on a very limited budget, but they get complete access to our entire resource library. So every Q&A call gets recorded, transcribed, put in the library. Every core module gets recorded, transcribed, put in the library. The Silver adds a couple of things. The Silver adds the core modules 1 through 8 live and live Q&A calls, and when we do live special topic modules. So the Silver, again, the launch special is $547. And then what's the per month? The per month is as long as you want to remain a member. Like Mike's been a member for a year, then you pay a subscription. And when you're no longer getting value, then you say, thanks, I'm not going to be a member anymore. For Gold, what you get in addition to Silver is I get to learn about you and get to know you in a one-on-one, get acquainted call when you start the program. We do assessment, so I understand your vision for your life, where you want to work. Then you get the live application mastery, which is what Gold members say it's all about. It's the only place where you get access to the Leadership Gift Apprenticeship and accreditation program is Gold or above into Platinum. So this is the Gold plan. Is you can join now for $597 and then $97 a month, or there's a couple of other plans. You'll see them when you get to the Skyrocket page. The Platinum plan is one where you get every month private coaching with me. The application mastery can be done one-on-one. It can be done very rapidly. Sometimes we break through things in 5, 10, 15 minutes. So we'll have a monthly one-on-one where you get me to help you stay tuned up. And then you can also take advantage of the rest of the community. And this is $997 plus $497 a month. And it's only open to 10 people at a time for the Platinum membership. So listen, don't join if you're looking for quick tips and tricks, or if you can't organize yourself to take advantage of a self-paced program. You're taking advantage of this program is up to you. It's up to you to make the time for this high leverage and strategic, rather than to see it as competing for all of your other tasks. However, do join now if you're ready to skyrocket performance while reducing stress costs and execution times. So I hope you've jotted it down. And if it'll help, we'll give you a couple bonuses. We'll give you your choice of 2 bonuses. The first bonus is a 12 MP3 set called How to Teach Responsibility to Anybody and Master Your Life in the Process. Little extra stuff you can do on your commute, listen to these. Or if you prefer, we'll give you a 1-hour training video that you can use for sharing this information with your team or with others. Each of those bonuses are $200 value, and after you join, don't worry